In today's video, what should our topic be?
How about post-contest transition strategies?
Seems relevant.
Yeah, I like that.
All by myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Rebel from ProPhysique.com. Welcome to today's video. Hopefully that made you laugh. But the real reason we're here with Dr. Joe is because he was here to support me. I got on stage, and coaches need coaches. So first of all, big thank you, Joe, for coming out to DC.
It's good work.
Now, my man Aayush, behind the lens right now, is working on a fantastic show day video, but it's going to take a little while to get that edit out because we're not just slapping it together. He got some amazing stuff. I've seen the footage, and I'm really excited about it. So for today's video, we just got back from breakfast. It's actually Monday. The show was Saturday, and yesterday we spent kind of the day enjoying life a little bit, got outside of the mindset of a competitor or tracking, and it makes a lot of sense to me that we discuss post-show strategy, because probably nobody in the history of competitive coaching has had more people transition out of a show. So I thought it'd be really cool to get your perspective on what is the most successful approach or mindset, food, training, cardio. What is the best approach, and how you help clients transition from that all or nothing day into normal life again?
Well, first you have to remember that everybody's hitting that contest day in probably a different context.
Yes.
So my best strategy would be having a client like yourself who has already seen quite an increase in calories leading up to the show.
Yeah.
So the two biggest variables you have to consider are, number one, your body composition. That's the biggest. And then your nutrition status at that time.
Okay.
So body composition, you're probably 4% or less if you were on InBody or DEXA. So that's just not normal for a human being.
Right.
You have to realize that you've not only been in a calorie deficit for this long, so there's normal metabolic adaptation and suppression, but your body comp is now just screaming to come out of that survival mode.
Yeah.
So you could not be in a better primed place to gain body fat.
Yay.
And of course, what does everybody want to do, right? Just go out and eat. Maybe make a list of all those restaurants you haven't been to, eat all those foods. And you just can't do that if you successfully want to navigate your way through without a lot of body fat gain.
Yeah, so for me, the definition of success coming out of a show is A, getting back to a place where you're not food focused, B, avoiding putting on a body fat in a manner that makes you feel like bad about yourself. I think that's the thing that I look for with my clients specifically is, like, I'm okay with you eating more and putting on more body fat if you're okay with looking like you have a little more body fat. So that's where it comes down to the individuality. In my situation, so I'm actually a part of a study that's coming out at the University of South Florida. So I am actually going to be reverse dieting out of my show for this study. But having said that, I've been dieting since January. So I think my situation's a little bit different. I've had a lot of experience. This is my, I think, 10th show. I don't know, I kind of feel like this is more of a transition. I don't have the same mindset that I did my first couple shows, where it was like you said, I couldn't wait to just not track, go out and eat whatever I wanted. I just had that mindset almost like it was my right, like I was, but I just feel differently this time, and it probably comes down to a lot of the things you said. We brought food up.
Yeah, so first of all, in this study, you're going to be an outlier, I would assume, because you're not starting at this massively suppressed, you haven't been doing hours of cardio a day, you're not on 50 grams of carbs a day. You're already halfway minimal transitioned out.
Right.
So I'm not sure this is going to be a great study with you as a subject unless they compare the status of each person going in.
Right.
But to your point, psychologically, people are just ready to eat, right?
Yes.
And that's a dangerous place to be, because once you start getting that food in, and it's compounded with that physiological just need for food.
Yeah.
It's the perfect storm for a frenzy that just doesn't stop. And I think we both know people who've done that. Gained 10, 15. But my record for somebody that I knew who did a show, the Monday after the Saturday contest, he was 30 pounds up.
Wow.
And just, there was actually another person I know that had to be hospitalized for hypernatremia. Literal cells in his body were just exploding because of the amount of water retention he had.
So in a situation like that, is it just, because so yesterday we went out to eat, we walked and ate, and I actually got to the point of physical discomfort after one meal, and I wouldn't even describe it as a huge meal. It was probably 1,500, 2,000 calories, not by my standards, not a huge
it's
meal.
Bigger than you're used to.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I actually felt physical discomfort, but I was still reaching for food, and I thought, you know what, I'm done eating. But for someone to put on that kind of weight, they eat through the discomfort.
They ate through the pain.
Because
all weekend.
So describe the physiological reason why your literally stomach is hurting from being full, but you have the desire to eat more.
Yeah, just the biochemistry of the hunger. I mean, you're now getting insulin kind of surging through your body for the first time in those levels, and your body just goes into that massive storage mode.
Yeah.
Where think of any other time in history, right? 100, 200 years ago, most of the world was just lucky to get enough food for the day. So your body evolutionarily is just primed to store that when you get it. Very different from our psychological desire to look a certain way.
Right.
The body, I mean, hominids have been around for 25 million years. It has been nothing but survive, survive, survive.
This is obviously the greatest food surplus in human history where we're living. So our bodies haven't adapted to that yet, so they're just in survival mode still. So, and honestly, I can attest to that yesterday, and so I'm going to talk about what I think my philosophy is, because it's come up with us being in DC. What we did yesterday was we got out and walked to some of the bigger monuments, and then we walked through some of the museums. I think we tracked it. We walked probably close to 6 to 7 miles yesterday. Ate pretty freely. I wasn't real mindful with my numbers. I have no idea what my numbers were. I still try to get a little bit of protein in. I had a couple things I enjoyed. We had like a caramel tart. I had like a fried chicken sandwich, a couple alcoholic beverages. But I felt like without tracking and enjoying and walking, that helped the post show. And I've had that feedback from a couple clients this year who competed in like New York and Chicago, that the day after the show, they were actually able to kind of not track, be active, and kind of subvert that potential tons of fat storage or terrible feeling into maybe just a slight shift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think you necessarily have to track, but I would have a plan.
Yeah.
So if you say, okay, what's the greatest food that I've missed? What would be my number one thing on top of the list? Well, plan that maybe the night of the show.
I had
or
that the day before
after.
the show.
right. Again, yeah, different context.
Yeah.
But then, just plan that out. Maybe one thing a day for a couple days, and then you've got the rest of the week to kind of transition up a little bit, and then stagger it up. I mean, it's one of the things I do almost as a mandatory process with my clients. Here is the contest. You're going to be with me for at least a month after, even if you don't have any planned, because part of that transition, I think, is a huge responsibility to have some oversight and partnership with.
Yeah, and it's one thing that I do not like to find is that, when a client ghosts you after a show, it gets a little worrisome, I don't like the term intuitive. I'm going to eat intuitively, coach, because your intuition is not right after a show. Your intuition is going to be to eat through pain. That you're going to think, oh, I'm craving something. It's not going to be a physiological need. It's going to be more that your body is just determined to put on body fat. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't really like that. I am going to be a little bit diligent this post show. I want to benefit from all the hard work I put in. But when we're talking about what's actually correct, so you're familiar with the recovery diet, where the guys at 3D Muscle Journey, brilliant guys, say basically you need to put on 5% of your body weight in that first couple days, that first week, and then start tracking, versus being a little more diligent. Does that come down to, like you said, the approach you took at the end of prep, where with me we were raising calories up, so I'm in this a little bit better position?
Yeah, I completely disagree with that as a primary strategy.
Okay.
If somebody has gone all the way to the show and they're still just barreling down toward the show, they've never had any type of transition upward prior to competing, that may psychologically be something they can handle better because they get a little bit more food. But as I said, most of my clients have almost off-season maintenance levels of calories the day they compete. And I mean 4 weeks. I already have, we know we have the World Championships here in a couple weeks, and I've got a lot of clients competing there. And through this end of the season, I've got so many clients who are now at 2 and 3 times their dieting level of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
They're at double their fat intake.
Yeah.
And so there really is no reason to regain that much body fat as a percent.
So it's super individual.
Because their body composition is contest level, and they're at maintenance level of food.
Yeah.
It's really a whole
Well, and I can
world.
attest to myself, the after the show, there was nothing I wanted. There was a sushi place next door. We ate there. That was fine for me. So it does change things drastically when you don't feel like, I guess you're coming into contest literally just by the hair of your chin, just barely making it, like, and you just survive the day. Yeah. And then you need to cut loose.
So remember, I said the two biggest variables are your body composition and your calorie deficit or nutrition status.
Yeah.
So for my clients, nutrition status is already here, and so we can very easily raise body composition slowly without a lot of stress because their food intake is already here. If both are way down here, again, you could take a sequential, incremental approach, which I think would be better, less stressful for the person and the body. But if the goal is to just gain 5 pounds of your body weight back quickly, I mean, I'm personally not that big of a fan.
It's and what would make me nervous would be the slippery slope of that. Like once you have a few free meals, it's really hard to rein it back in. It's almost like you get so used to your routine. Once you're out of it, it's hard to get back into it. I've heard many of my clients tell me that reverse dieting post-show was harder than dieting for the show because you don't have this goal. So I guess part of it's going to also come down to like when the season's over, what's the next goal for this person? Is it 2, 3, 4 years off from competing? Is it another 6 months? Is it a year? That's going to play a big role. So hopefully this guys helps you out. I mean, the big thing here is there is no one right approach, right? There's no one reverse diet. There's no one recovery diet. There's no one peaking process. So this is the first time that I've ever peaked for a show where I was walking calories up literally 2 weeks before the show, and Joe was monitoring that. And what it really changed for me was it allowed me to not have these cravings post-show. What I craved yesterday was to not track, to not be aware of what I was eating, to just have the mental freedom. And honestly, I woke up today thinking I want to eat clean, I want my normal breakfast, and we went and did that. And so, yeah, I think I'm excited about this process. I've never been this lean, and I've never been this mentally healthy at this body composition. So I'm excited to see, how I transition out, and how much food I can handle over the next couple months. So
awesome.
All right, so guys, if you like this conversation, you have to listen to Joe's podcast. I'm going to link it below. Dr. Joe and Dr. Corey talk about all things, and they're my resource. And if you like my content, well, this is where I get my ammunition, my fuel, my feedback. He's the one that helps me when I have a question. So you're getting it straight from the horse's mouth. He's not actually a horse. All right, guys, that's it for today. Look for tomorrow's video. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you, Aayush, for the amazing show day edit. We're about to head to Core Nutritional. I'm going to hang out with my man, Doug Miller. We're going to have some fun. We're going to train. We're going to see Core headquarters, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.